I am Patti Matthews, your host. I am here with John Slack. John Slack, how are you doing? Top agent?
Oh, thanks. I'm doing fantastic. Happy to be here. Thanks for thinking of me.
Yeah, man. You've been licensed for a while, former pro baseball player. You were in commercial insurance. How's life?
Oh man, life is busy.
Yeah?
Life is busy with 4 kids, sports, work, real estate, all the good stuff. But super blessed.
Yeah.
To be more grateful to have the ability to do what I do and be able to kind of create my own schedule and be there for the big family moments. Also have time with my kids, which this career can kind of pull you in a few multiple directions.
Yeah, it's just a little bit, huh?
But, business has been great. I've been blessed with some great relationships that have, helped me flourish.
Yeah,
So-
well, and your business is up 30%. It blows me away. Last year was a down market, and you're up 30%. I mean, what did you swallow a horseshoe, or what are you doing?
I mean, maybe I pray a little more often.
Okay.
And not know.
Let me
but,
make a note of that.
But honestly, 30%, I didn't even really know the number. Shame on me. I should probably know those numbers. But I just work hard. Like, I think that sometimes the harder you work, the luckier you get. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of always been my motto. I think even from sports, it's just grind. I mean, being a baseball player, 162 games in a 6-month time span, that's a grind. So growing up in that world, that's just what I've known, to just grind. And I think that, we can get sidetracked and think that, we see all this glamorous glitz of all these realtors doing all these great things on social media. And
So easy.
we forget that it's hard.
Yeah.
And so I kind of sometimes just rely on my baseball, the savvy, the grit, the determination to help me push through in tough markets. And
Nice.
when you do the work, you get rewarded.
Yeah, you have a hell of a batting average. Keep up the good work.
Right, yeah.
So tell the audience and me a little bit about how your journey from, you were a pro baseball player, you're playing with the Mets, right?
Mm-hmm.
And tell me how that transition happened from pro baseball to real estate.
To where I'm at now, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I don't know if we have enough time for that transition, so
Give me the cliff notes.
I'll try to keep
Yeah.
the long story short here.
Okay.
So, yeah, anyways, my career was over in 2006. Figured out, like, what do I want to do with my life? I had a vision. I was getting to the big leagues. Mm-hmm. And I was going to make hundreds of millions of dollars, and I was going to do all this. And fast forward a few years, I finished my degree at UNLV, and I had a good friend of mine that was selling commercial insurance. Was like, hey, you're great. You're personable. Why don't you try this route? I was like, I just got my degree. And then I go into sales. Like, what was the point of that? He goes, well, you can make really good money, and you can make your own schedule. I was like, oh, sweet. So that kind of segued into doing some multifamily protection for clients. And I had a buddy of mine ask for a bid on a multifamily deal, and he was a multifamily real estate agent. And long story short, we got into the commissions of things, and I made pretty good money. I mean, he's like, yeah, you add another zero, that's what I made. And I was like, I'm in the wrong industry. Like, and I got to manufacture this whole thing. You got the sale and you're good. So I was like, nah, I should be able to think about doing real estate. And funny that we talk about that, within 3 months, I'm at a church function with some friends, and there was a guy that was just starting a brokerage, and he was like, yeah, you can make $100 in your sleep in this market. And this is 2016-ish time frame, 2017.
Right before it really
We're kind of like, it's still
off, yeah.
past the kind of the crap of 2010, 11,
Yeah.
and 12, and started to boom up. And so my wife's like kicking me under the table, like, hey, you should get your real estate license too, and you can do both. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. And everybody I knew was in real estate. I picked some brains of people, and I asked them, I was like, hey, would you be willing to take me under your wing if I got into this? Because I'm in the commercial side. There's some big checks to be had. Mm-hmm. So he's like, yeah, this is what you do. And lo and behold, about 6 months later, middle of 2017, took the test, got in, and kind of just fell into the industry because I was envious of the extra zero my buddy made.
Well, that's a good motivating, especially with 4 kids. That's a very motivating number.
Yeah, and it was a big number. And so I just thought, well, how different it can be. So then when I got into the real estate space, I had to kind of unwind how I did sales, because I was more in a protection phase from insurance.
Okay.
As far as like an investment phase, but I felt that gave me an easier segue to understand the investment. And that was where my commercial came in for the first few years. But what I was naive to know is I didn't know I could just sell residential as well with the same license. So I lost opportunities at the beginning because my friends only thought I could sell commercial buildings.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, wow, this is kind of crazy. So I kind of just fell into it.
Okay.
I didn't grow up wanting to be a real estate professional.
Most people don't grow up to want to be a real estate agent. It finds us.
But, you know, the funny part is now is I literally have this conversation with people. I was like, I could hit the lottery tomorrow and I would still do this.
Why is that?
Because I think there's a bigger picture than what we do for freedom and things. It's setting people's lives and families up for stability, security, financial, like wealth, being, like all of that. It's about them. And so I had a really good lesson from my father-in-law. He ran a pretty big casino here in town. And he always taught me that no matter what you do in life, never make it about yourself. Always make it about other people and find a solution. And that's what real estate is.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, can we make really good money? Sure. But the amount of people that we can help and serve and just know that their future is secure by putting them into a house or helping them within a business asset.
Yeah.
That's the real joy for me.
It's so much more far-reaching than just the product that we happen to be in the business of helping people get into. It's about generational wealth and having a life worth living, right? To build life by design.
Right.
So, tell me a little bit about that, because when I think of John Slack, I think of somebody who definitely has a sense of community. You refer sometimes to being in the clubhouse. What does that mean to you? You're always giving back. You help agents in the office, and I know that translates a big part into your success because you do come from contribution.
Right.
What does that mean to you personally to be part of a community?
Well, first and foremost, I wouldn't be anywhere where I am today without the help of others, especially from sports or just even coming from a single mom and just knowing what that looked like and just working hard. So I always had a chip on my shoulder to earn things, but I wasn't afraid to ask for help. And I think that's just been instilled to me. Is like I always want to see the underdog win because I was an underdog. Like I wasn't supposed to make it and be a 5th round draft pick coming up in an area for, in Green Valley, where at that time in the early 90s, there's a lot of money in town. I'm living with a single mom. We had to rent an apartment the first couple of years. We moved to Vegas. Like, I felt like I didn't fit in. I was the underdog. Like, who's this kid with this accent? Then, has to park his car,
Right, because you're originally from Boston.
So it's like, then they're teasing me like, how do you say this word and that word? And I felt like I couldn't fit in. So I was always like that guy. I was like, I'm going to do it. But I had a few select coaches and a few people in my life really take me under their wing and be like, man, you have what it takes. You just got to forget all the life stuff and just play the game and love it. And so I think seeing that and then navigating into the real estate world, it took me a little while to ask for help because you get older, you get more mature, you think you can do this on your own. And then I realized like, okay, no, I need the same thing. And so that's kind of been part of why my success has happened in real estate too. It wasn't done alone. It was people that I reached out to. It was people that I connect with, and then they help me raise myself to a higher level. But then I get to turn around, and if I get to the next step, I'm always looking, who can we bring up? Because we're individual, right? But at the end of the day, when you're doing a deal, I'm not the only one in the deal. There's multiple people in the deal. So we're as strong as our weakest link. So who can we get to the top so that everybody gets the success? And at the end of the day, I think if we help enough people get what they want, then we get what we want.
It's the truth. And so you were high-minded enough to know asking for help is a good thing.
Right.
Right, Aaron, carry that with you. How is that translated into coaching girls softball? That's something you do at a very high level. You've been doing it for a few years. What have you learned about leadership and mentoring in that space as opposed to a business space? What has that done for you?
Well, what it's done for me is it's taught me a lot about 13 and 14-year-old girls.
Bless you.
And then that, thank you. And then that hormonal change in the age of time where the young women or young girls are coming into young women. So that's been probably the biggest challenge, and how I can be relatable to them.
Okay.
From a male perspective to a bunch of females. But as far as the coaching aspect, I don't think it really changes. What I have learned with the softball girls and the softball game, I know this is on a podcast, and so all my baseball guys out there, I'm sorry, but I've come to love the game of softball, I think, better than baseball. And because these girls are tough, and they give it their all, and the game's faster, it's condensed, it's quick. Baseball is great, I love it, but it can drag on and kind of get boring with some of the stuff. But being there for the girls, I feel like anywhere now in the world, there's this social status that these kids feel like they have to have.
Interesting.
Right? Because everybody's so connected with Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever the world is.
Constant.
Yeah, so that I think they get a little lost in that because they're young. They don't understand it. So that if I can bring a different perspective of what it looks like, and then just not let it just be about softball, but these are life lessons that they're going to be learning. These are the girls that are going to be in your line in your wedding. Like, these are the kids that you're going to grow up with. Like, that's really where I look at it, is like, this is the joy for me. And I think the privilege is really just to be there with my kid. You know, we know, you know, you have kids, and I think when they get older, you look back at that time, it's like, oh, those 3-4 years, they might have felt like, oh gosh, this is so much. And then it's gone. You're like, man, I'm so glad I had that.
And it gets through. And, you know, when you're a parent, you only get maybe 15, 16 summers with them. The fact that you've made a commitment to your daughter and those young ladies on the team, I commend you for that, because it goes by so quick, and you'll find later in life it stays with them, even though they don't see it now. That's, as we get older, the fun stuff.
Yeah, that's the struggle for my daughter for sure. She doesn't see it now. She just thinks, man, Dad's always just mad at me, or he's hard on me. But I told her, I said, listen, wait till you play for a coach that doesn't care. Mm-hmm. You don't know the difference.
Right.
And so I think that's really where it comes from, is myself and the guys that we have on our staff and the female coach we have. We just love these kids. And that's really what it starts with. And right. And that's kind of one of Gary's like bold truths, like number 10 was love is the answer. Like, these kids can always be, they can go do a million different things, but I think just having the love for them and just letting them know that, hey, look, we got your backs. That's really what pushes them, and they really want to be there.
And making that a priority, making it known.
Right.
Let me ask you something. Phones being disconnected from the team during practice and traveling, what is that like? What are your standards as a coach around that for the young ladies being on their phones?
So we have player rules that the girls sign. Like, it was passed down from our head liaison guy that runs kind of he's the regime for our side of the Little Rebels. So he's, you know, the main cursor, and then we get the blessing to be able to coach. But we're there for softball. No, it's not paparazzi time. So these girls are committed.
And
it's not rep call. So it's like, hey, you come, you got the phones, it's going in the bag. If there's an emergency, if there's something, we'll get a hold of your parents. You know, you don't need to check the roster and then text them, hey, I'm pitching today, or I got to play third base. Like, no, they're here to cheer you on. Your parents are proud of you. Put the phone away, you can live. Mm-hmm. And so we don't have, because we're at a higher level, I don't see that being too much of a nuisance. The big thing for me is, when we're in the moment, is, you know, now these girls are starting to kind of get into the boys, and, you know, you got boys with the brothers of the sisters of coming around the game, and I'm like, that's where the distraction is. Like, you guys get the heck out of here.
Yeah, that's pretty hard to control. Hormones are tough to negotiate with.
For sure. But, you know, and then being a dad of one of the kids on the team, that's a big thing to swallow, because inevitably it's going to come to a point in time, you know, she's going to have to get to that age where she can start dating and picking her own, you know, battles with that side of the world. But ultimately we do a pretty good job. We set the tone at the very beginning with the player contract rules, and we just make them accountable for those rules.
But it doesn't seem difficult because they're so into it.
Yeah,
and they catch you about something. It's nice to have that singular focus and to encourage that, because there's so many shiny objects. There's so many children out there with ADHD and anxiety, because there's too much going on. I think simplifying things and having, I think any child who plays sports, that's a plus for them, right? Be able to really focus on something, get physical exercise. Tell me about how you manage your time with it all. You're coaching, you also have a son, you're married, you're traveling, and running a big real estate business. How do you stay consistent? What's your time management hack?
Well, it wasn't till probably a few months ago till I was in one of my little mini mind groups with some amazing people that slapped me across the face with priority management.
Priority management is success list. I like it.
We got our list, we've got our things. And so I've always been, I think, maybe like successfully messy with my time, I should say. So it took me a little bit to kind of navigate that, because I just felt like I was just able to do. Right. And then you get to a point where, like, okay, now I know what my mom always used to tell me, like, don't burn the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm going to be 44 this year, and I still feel like I'm a young spring chicken, but my body and my blood levels and all my stuff tell me that I'm not anymore. So I Yeah, I literally had this come to Jesus a couple months ago about, okay, how can I get everything done? And what I realized is I think I'm a type of person being a competitor, right? You want to always tackle that list. And what a couple very wonderful people that do bigger business than I do told me, like, your list will never be complete. It's always going to just keep adding. So you got to learn to just knock the things off every day that are important to you. And that way your day will feel successful. And so I think, because we're all gifted the same 24/7, 365, right? Oprah Winfrey, Jeff Bezos, all those people, they all found a way to do something. And so I look at that and say, well, you know, these guys are doing it at a high level, or these women are doing it at a high level. What's their secret? And then I just found out they just have to prioritize what's important to them. And really, I have that list of, hey, during the business day, my real estate business is important to me. If my wife calls me multiple times, I know something's going on. That's an emergency. Let's go. At 5 o'clock, my family and my sports life are my priority. Business can wait till tomorrow. It'll be there tomorrow.
How hard was that for you to do, to shut that off and be able to focus on that? Because in this business, we can work 24/7.
It's still hard. It's not easy because, you know, what if you know that client is a $3.5 million buyer and they need something? But I've just realized that understanding, like, it's okay to have boundaries because they didn't get to their successfulness without boundaries or having that.
You call your doctor at 7 o'clock at night, do you expect immediate response? That's
Or
very
if you call your heart surgeon, can you get in next week? Like, no way, right? So that's kind of how I had to reshift my mindset of just knowing, like, it's okay, it'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if it's not, then it wasn't for me.
And there's abundance. That's an abundant mindset.
Right.
Now, I'm also hearing that you put yourself in an environment that you have bigger thinking people around you. How does that impact you? Shared a little bit about the time and what are you learning in that journey? Because you've been licensed since 2017, you said.
Yeah.
It's been a journey and you made a change and surrounded yourself with people. Tell us about that.
So, well, it first took me to reach out, right? Because it wasn't going to come to me. But
I love that.
thankfully, I've been blessed with a wonderful wife and family who I have a particular family member that I reached out to. And within 5 or 10 minutes of sitting down and just looking at my business from a 30,000 foot view, I was like, hey, man, you got to change your room. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And so it didn't take long to know that showing up every day working hard wasn't something that I was, you know, lacking. It was lawyers to support. And so
Focus.
It really put me into a position, and that's how it led me to Keller Williams, was knowing that there's that support, there's that family, there's that feel, but you have other people, you know, that gravitate, and you're, you know, like they say, you're as good as though you're one of the 5 people that you hang out with. You become that, right? So I was like, well, if I want to get to this level, I got to start hanging around these 5 people or these types of people in my world. And if I don't, I'm okay. It wasn't that I was doing bad, but, you know, being a baseball guy or being a sports guy, you always want to do better. You always want to break records.
Coached up.
You want to level up. And so collaborating with this particular family member was amazing. And, you know, he's kind of set me straight. He slapped me around and kicked me on the groin a few times without physically doing it, but just like, you know, that gut punch, like, oh man. But I'm so grateful that I have that, because not very many people can tap into that and have that luxury.
That's true. And you've also had the awareness to reach out and get further ahead, right? You're thinking bigger. You're not the same person as you were when you started in real estate. You're a different person. You're learning based. You're continually looking to learn, follow other people at a high level. Talk to me a little bit about wealth building, right? You're working in your business, right? You're starting to build your bunkers and your war chest and wealth chest, as we call it.
Right.
How does that look for you? How has that changed?
Well, it's first started to change because I started making some pretty good money.
Yeah,
I think you have to start making some good money to be able to do that. But I don't want to discourage people, because I think if I would have known now, a few years ago, about structuring the business, you can get there faster.
Okay.
So I was reluctant to start because I was like, man, this is so far away. How am I ever going to get there? And then when I talked to some high level minded people, they're like, dude, I started just like 10 months ago myself.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, it's not that far.
Yeah.
So it's within reach. And so I said, okay, if you guys can just start now and you're doing it and you're a lot longer in the business than I have, like, why can't I start? So I had to kind of like unwind the messiness and get a little bit more structured and look at it, and then just start getting a little bit more educated in the space.
Yep.
I think, if you will, because I mean, there's so many things that you could just go in a rabbit hole with wealth. So, you know, I still haven't really found my niche of what I wanted to do, but I think just starting the basics of understanding, you know, your profit and loss and what's your burn rate and how do you get here and how much reserves do I need, and then let's start figuring out, is there an HSA account or a whole life insurance policy? Is there some investments? Is there a hard money loan? All connected still within the real estate being the hub,
Right.
and not really getting outside of what I know.
Right.
And so that's kind of really what this last year and a half of getting the business structure right and trying to mitigate tax expenses as much as keeps.
The biggest expense you're going to have is taxes, right?
Well, I heard it at a seminar with one of the, you know, ex-presidents of K-Dub, and he was like, you know, we don't have a problem making money. We have a problem hanging on to our money. And so, like, I was like, wait a minute, that's true. Like, I've made good money, but some days they're like, where did I?
Right.
You know, I made 60 grand that month, and how does there only like 30 left? Like, where do you know, if we don't pay attention to it, it can go fast. And so I've really got to a point where I can see now where I'm going, where before it was kind of like a little bit of a fog, and how do we get there? And then it just takes a little bit of structure to be able to lift that out of the way.
Adjusting that lens a little bit.
Yeah, and I think had I would have known that, and if anybody that watches this, and if I could give them a plug, like, don't wait till you start making money to get structured. Like, do it now. I mean, it might be a little bit of an expense to get the paperwork and the
You were saying
LLC
structured, yeah.
and the
corporate
S
structure.
corp or doing stuff like that, because take it from me, I got whacked around the last 2 years paying a bunch of money back for taxes that, had I known this is the way that you do it,
Right.
I'd been hanging on to more of my money.
Well, that's that talking about failing forward, right?
Yeah, no, and it is, but at the end of the day, they don't teach you this stuff.
No.
They don't teach you really anywhere. And so when you hang around these people, surround yourself with the right people on the right path, you find a way to get there.
Well, good for you.
So it's fun.
And yeah, because you're making really good money. It's nice to know that you're able to position it in a way that's you're going to have your money work for you.
Yeah, and also do that, but also I manifest an abundant lifestyle, but I want to be able to make good money too, so that I can help other people.
Right.
It isn't about just all for me.
Back to that community.
I feel like if we can do that, or maybe there's an opportunity where I can, you know, open a platform for somebody and they have other at-bats they wouldn't have had. Like, I'm just all about it being a good karma guy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I want to be able to know that I did all that I could, put my head on my pillow, and have a good night's sleep knowing, like, I did it right.
Yeah.
Today was done right. Tomorrow's going to be another day. We're going to do it right again.
Tell me a little bit about fitness. You're a fit guy, right? You get that into your schedule. It's something you're passionate about. What are you doing for fitness? How do you get it in? How do you fit it in?
So, they got this new lingo of the world, right? That, you know, my girls like to tease me, or the kids will tease me, like, oh, Coach Slack's a big back, you know, because I'm a big guy or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. But they're just funny, right? This lingo. But anyways, for my fitness stuff, it's just always been a part of me. So I think that's a natural thing. It's been my routine, so it's not a burden for me to get up to go to the gym. It's not hard for me to, because I mean, I've been doing that since I've been 13 years old. You know, it's been 30 years. That's been what I do. But if I don't do it, I can definitely tell. And those days,
you miss a day,
or if I miss a day, I don't feel as like, oh man, my day didn't start off good. Today might suck. Like, but then I can change my mindset because of the high level thinking. Like, hey, it's not just a workout. Maybe it was something else that pulled me away, that I was more productive.
Yeah.
But as a fitness person, like, it's good for you. So why not do it?
Yeah.
Go work out.
A lot of people struggle, right? It's kind of, you know, why is most of it, I say often, why is a lot of America overweight? There are foolproof diet plans, right? Well, there are foolproof, our mindset gets in the way.
Yeah.
You've got that hack on fitness.
But also, right, like anything, even in this profession or anything, like, there's no results overnight. Like,
Say that again?
There's no results overnight. So even with fitness, like, you go on a fitness plan and say you want to lose 30 pounds, are you going to walk into the gym the next day and work out and lose those 30 pounds?
Oh, if it was that easy, sign me up. But
right. You'd have to cut off a limb to lose 30 pounds, right? And so I think that's where society has gotten misleading of, you know, everything has to happen fast. And if you don't get it fast, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So let's find the next thing that will make me go fast so that it works. And it's like, no, you got to put in the effort, you got to put in the time, and then you got to stay consistent doing it. And then over time, all of a sudden, like, oh, wow, this works.
Yeah.
Right. And that old adage is like Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right.
Right. We don't grasp that. But I think because you see this next fitness model or you see this next guru and they've got millions of followers or they're shredded because they had one super drink and they promote this product like, oh, this is going to change me. No, you gotta have the, like I tell the kids in church, I teach my Sunday school, like, what's faith without action? Right?
Prayer.
It's nothing. So if you don't act and you don't do it, like, how do you really know what's going to happen? So you can't just sit there and say, hey, I'm going to sign up for my gym membership and get fit. Like, you got to put the work in.
And I love it. You're living it, right?
Yeah.
Action equals movement equals motivation, I should say.
Exactly.
Okay, so lifting weights,
Yeah.
go to the gym.
Gym, cardio, golf, sports,
Okay.
but, even coaching, being out with the girls, running around, throwing, hitting a fungo and getting in positions like, feel the ground balls, like that kind of hit
Yep.
kind of stuff, that high intensity training with them for an hour and a half, like all of that.
Just keep moving.
All of that. Just keep moving so you don't get stale.
And you're a hell of a golfer, I hear, too.
I guess. Depends on who you
That's
hear.
what I heard. It must be true.
So, I mean, I've been blessed with some athletic ability. Let's
Okay.
just call it that. My expectations sometimes on the course are my worst enemy.
Kind of hard on yourself?
Yeah, well, I just expect certain things because I used to be able to play a lot better than I am now. But having a business and having kids and doing everything that I'm doing and
Yeah.
getting in all these different multiple directions, sometimes it takes away from the practice of the golf game.
Yep.
So if I look at, I'm going to go expect to shoot a 75 today and I shoot a 81, I feel like, oh man, that's crap. Where I realize people would give their left arm to shoot an 81.
Right.
So I think it just depends on who you ask. But, I definitely, I love the game. Everything that I do it like 100%. I'm a passion guy.
Okay.
And so.
That's 100% that you have now is an 81 maybe.
Right. And so I feel like, golf's just hard too. Mm-hmm. But where I think people think that I'm good at is because I can hit it a long way.
I think that's what
And I think
heard.
that's what
Yeah.
transitions is like, oh my gosh, like he hits it so far. Well, I mean, it's just a baseball guy. I understand how.
Well, if psychologically it gets your opponent off their game, then whatever works, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, like I tell people, in golf, you're not playing your opponent. Mm-hmm. Like you're playing that next shot, that hole. It doesn't matter if I can hit it 350 yards. If it takes me 6 shots to get the next 50 yards in, but you only hit it 250, but you can get it in less shots than I can. You beat me on the scoreboard. You didn't beat me. You just
Right.
won the hole.
Mental warfare I'm
Right.
talking about, right? You're
Yeah.
able to get in somebody's head by hitting it right off the
Well, yeah, you
Right.
can psyche people out, but at the end of the day, like it's another thing that I caddied for a little bit in my transitioning years of just messing around before kids. So I got to learn from some people at a very high level to play the game. And so that's kind of where the foundation comes from. And now it's just you get out there a little bit, you knock the rust off, and we're good.
What's next for John Slack? What's in 2025? What are you most excited about?
I didn't think about that one. I just wish I would have had a cheat sheet for that question.
Well, that's okay. We spoke about it a little bit. Well, before we started this, you had alluded to some branding. You're focused on that.
Yeah, I think there's some big stuff on the horizon for me. What I've learned in some of the wealth space is to try to find ways to, I think 2025 is to try to find some ways to how I could create some passive income.
Okay.
So that's
Love it.
kind of my focus on what can I do to do things to where maybe if I'm making X amount of money selling real estate, how can I offset that
Yep.
so that I can free up a little bit more time to do other things where this passive income is. So say, for instance, like if I wanted to sell 35 homes this year to make X amount of money, how can I get some passive income where maybe I only have to sell 25 homes to make the same amount of money?
So you're going to get time, right? You're not trading time for money, right? Money is working for you, so you get your time back.
Right, a little
Love
extra
it.
time.
And then 2 other questions because we're about to wrap up.
Okay.
If you had 10 extra hours a week, how would you spend them?
4 hours probably golfing
All right, I love it.
because I want to get out there. And then I think just maybe the other 6 hours, I probably would have to just, I mean, I don't even know. Like, because I feel like I'm so good with my time. Like 10 hours feels like a lot now when you peel it back. Mm-hmm. But probably those other 6 hours, I think that I would definitely focus, maybe spending a little bit more time personally with my wife.
Love it.
As we get that sports divorce going.
Yep.
Spending a little time with her extra. And then I think also just trying to make sure that I'm a little bit more organized and not be so messy. Use that time to just kind of get a little bit more, I think, dotting I's and cross the T's with my personal stuff.
Okay.
So that it gives me some feel good
Good. I love it.
work structure.
I love it. And then finally, if somebody wants to follow you on your journey and they want to connect, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, there's multiple. I mean, obviously, I still got the Facebook. I got the Instagram.
And that's John, Jon.
Yeah, Jon. I don't have Little Rebels RC Realm. That's my softball team. You can follow us and take a look at our schedule.
Awesome.
Come out, see me in a lot of my happy place on the field on the night in. So that you can follow us around there. I have my own home search site, which is explorehomeinlasvegas.com. You can register on that. I can ping you and if you're interested in the market.
Just Google Jon Slack.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if you look up my real full name, you might stumble across my old baseball card or some Mets stuff. But
I think I've seen a couple of them.
But yeah, so I think that's just, realistically that, I mean, yes, with 2025, I'd like to be able to have a little bit of an easier outlet for people to find me.
Okay.
But I'm a big believer if I put in the work, the right people find me.
All right, great.
I don't have to go fishing too hard to catch that big fish.
Well, appreciate your time. I think you're amazing. Keep killing it. And I'm excited for your future and to be part of the journey.
No, thank you for being a great support. I know Keller Williams has been huge. You've been huge, Debbie. A lot of people here
You care about
have been
you.
part of why I've had the success you've allowed me to have the field to do it on. So thank you very much, too.
My
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.